Go to Vegas, bet it all. Put it on the Bucs win, whoever they gon' play gon' fall. Don't say I ain't told y'all. Loose cannons gon' fold y'all. Yeah, the Heat be 9-3, but it gets real cold in the fall. That's when the season start. Bucs come in 40 hard. Win after win, ripping the division apart. Panthers, they pussycats. Falcons got bird flu. Take the Ravens and Dolphins and open up a zoo. Cause one thing's for sure, better than the Bucs, they show lane. And every day in Tampa Bay, we say fuck the Saints. We in Tampa Bay, baby. 813 going crazy. Tampa, boy. This Bucs podcast be the greatest. Loose cannons blasting on them haters. And we in Tampa Bay, baby. Tampa, where you from? 813 going crazy. Yeah. This Bucs podcast be the greatest. Loose cannons blasting on them haters.
What is up, Bucs Nation? It is Monday, April 28th, 2025, and you're watching the Loose Cannons podcast. Don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button on your way out if you are new. I'm your boy, the Samurai Ali, hanging out with my pale one, the Stank Bastard, and of course, our looks like a reoccurring, consistent Tampa Bay Lightning hockey playoff matchup while on the show with the Loose Cannons guest, Luke Easterling of AthlonSports. Welcome back, Luke.
Happy to be back. I apologize in advance for any outbursts that happened during this game because I'm locked in. So
yeah.
I'm going to be just as jacked up about this draft class as I am every time the Bolts score tonight. So
you got to do like the what's his name, the radio announcer. Why can't I remember his name?
Dave Mishkin.
Dave Mishkin. You got to do that scream. Exactly. You just got to scream it.
I can't get up there. Dave's a legend, and I can't get up where Dave gets, but I can do my best. I'll do my best impression. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he is.
Thanks. I love how much other people hate him. Like every other fan base and other announcers, like they're like, oh, really? He's people hate. Yeah, they think he's so like overdone, and I just love it. The madder it makes other people, the more I enjoy it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I kind of didn't like him at first either. I was like, this guy's just being a bit over.
He's a bit much
dramatic. Yeah, just like, come on, dude, act like you've been there before. Give me a little Barry Sanders in there sometimes, just say, hand the ball, hand the puck to the ref and walk away.
It's like a lot of things. It's like, even like in hockey, it's like the goon, who like is annoying as hell, like until he plays for your team. Well, once he plays for your team, he's your guy, so you love him. Like, but if he's on other teams, then you hate it. I get it.
I mean, I usually like that guy regardless if he's on my team or not. I feel like the villain is always, you need a villain for the story to ever even make sense, right? So
that's why I miss Pat Maroon. I miss Pat Maroon so much on this team. Like he was so fun because he just annoys the shit out of everybody.
Every story and every team needs a villain. Otherwise, there's no story. So they're actually more important than the hero. Think about it.
I agree.
More important, always going to be that. That's why Jafar is the coolest character in Aladdin, not that stupid genie and not Aladdin. Sorry, Stank. And neither is Iago. I'm so
Iago
sorry.
The bird.
But he's right there. He's right there though, because he's kind of a villain too.
R.I.P. Gilbert Gottfried, the legend.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't even know Gilbert was dead. Damn, I'm finding out right here.
Been for a while.
It's been a little while. They're saying. Yeah. Sorry to drop that on you. But spoiler alert.
Damn, not
statute of limitations has passed. Yes.
Luke, we had you on last on Friday before the second day of the draft, so we kind of already went through a little bit of what it means to have Emeka Egbuka on here as the Bucs first round pick and adding him to the wide receiving core and for the future and whatnot. But we got to talk about the overall group here and just Jason Light and that front office's ability to not only add talent, but they've added talent at value. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how they were able to add such, impact type players. I believe almost every one of these guys has a chance to make impact as a starter, a role player, or both in some scenario or another. And how they were able to do it while hitting on value at every single spot without even trading up or down.
Yeah, it's so funny how much they just stuck and picked the whole time, right? I think Mike Beal was joking that Mike Greenberg was getting kind of antsy up there, like not being able to like work the phones and do anything fun. But when your pick comes up and you've got somebody that you're like, hell yeah, that guy's there. What are you supposed to do? Like you take your guy. That's how it works. But I put this all in a tweet, but Ibuka was a great pick. He also is the only player the Bucs drafted who came off the board at a later slot than where I had them ranked, basically. So like I had Ibuka at 23 overall. Bucs took him at 19, which again, I'm fine with that. Every other pick the Bucs got was a steal based on my board, outside of Benjamin Morrison, who went 53rd overall, and I had him 53rd overall on my board. So nailed the value there. Ibuka, again, was like a -4, I guess you would say, because he was 23. He went 19. Every other pick was, I think Parrish was like 9 or 10 spots, lower than where I had him ranked. Tez Johnson was like 90-something spots lower than where I had him ranked. Roberts and Walker were both steals. So again, you talk about value and filling the needs. And again, we talked about it on that previous episode, man, where everybody's panicking about like, oh, they took a receiver. What are they going to do about the defense? Oh yeah, all they did was go draft 2 corners back-to-back, 2 of my top 10 corners. Then they went and drafted 2 elite like pass rushers on film. If you just watch the tape on David Walker and you watch the tape on Elijah Roberts, nobody in college football, nobody had more pressures over the last 2 seasons in all of college football than Elijah Roberts at SMU. So, I mean, the fact that they were able to hit on the needs after taking the luxury pick, get value at every spot. I mean, the only thing I didn't like about this is they didn't get a linebacker, but that's the weakest position in this whole draft. So if there's any position you're not going to come out of this draft class with, and it's linebacker, I'm like, that's literally the only thing that held it back a little bit for me. But I understood that even.
Yeah, general consensus nationally was that the Bucs were up there in the top 10, I think 7th on a couple of these rankings in terms of the value of the guys they were able to add on top of the talent on, in the same mix, which was, again, I think it's like the second year in a row they've been able to do that. Second year in a row they didn't move up or down in the draft itself, but for them to be able to do that, address needs, and just ultimately win at every turn was just phenomenal. Again, it just continues to kind of solidify what we've always been saying about Jason Light, this front office. These guys are dogs. These guys deserve a lot more credit than they're being given nationally.
I just said that in a meeting I had for work, our Athlon NFL meeting today. I hear everybody talking about Howie Roseman is great and Brett Veach is great, and they are great. But the fact that Jason Light is never mentioned in those conversations among the greatest GMs in the league is just insane to me. Like, I know I'm biased, I get it, but like the track record speaks for itself. The fact that he can, if you look at where he started in that first couple of seasons, the mistakes they made and the learning experience that he had, which he'll be open about. He'll tell you flat out, like the progress he made in that job and learning how to delegate and learning what mistakes to not make again. You've got to have that type of self-awareness, but then you also have to know where your roster is to make certain moves at certain times. And the way he built the roster at the outset over the first 3 years to kind of get ready for Brady. And then once Brady got there, to make the moves that it took to be like, okay, we're going to strike while the iron's hot. We're going to do this. They won a Super Bowl. And to then navigate from that to going from one of the oldest teams in the league to one of the youngest teams in the league overnight, to have Brady go out, you bring in Baker Mayfield for $4 million to $8 million with incentives, and you just never miss a beat. You keep winning the division. You keep going to the playoffs. The only NFC team to go to the playoffs each of the last 5 years, 4 straight division titles. How is he not a top 5 at worst GM in the league right now? I don't understand it.
Luke, that's Tampa.
I mean, I know. I guess I do understand it.
That's how it's always been for every player, for Mike Evans, for Chris Godwin. I mean, it took a guy like Sapp, who was just brash and boastful and, out there, to get any kind of national media attention. We've always been under the radar here. I mean, you add the GOAT, and obviously we get some attention. Finally, the spotlight is shown on us and Jason and a lot of these guys. And you heard Levante getting their flowers, but it takes that almost. And you misspoke when you said added Baker. I meant you meant we upgraded to Baker from Tom Brady is what you meant to say. So.
Yeah,
I did not mean that, but I'm a big Baker fan. I'm super happy about it.
I think the Tom Brady move almost worked against Jason Light, because then all of a sudden it all became, they're just coming to play with Tom, as opposed to Jason's making things happen. I mean, he doesn't get any credit for pulling off the Ryan Jensen move. He doesn't get any credit for the JPP move, the Ndamukong Suh move, to go and find Gronk and trade, and get Gronk to come to town. Antonio Brown, massive part of that. All these guys, and to be able to cut ties with Gerald McCoy and go get Suh and not even miss a beat. and actually get better, and not even like, most GMs would take that and be hesitant to make that move because of the ties of the community and, the sappiness of a player like that, where sometimes you just got to rip that Band-Aid off. And that's the thing I've always said about Jason's. Most GMs are going to make mistakes, but when Jason makes mistakes, he just rips the Band-Aid. He doesn't wallow in the shit that he's created when he does. He just gets out of it. And he moves on. He admits a mistake and rolls. And that's what makes it so good to have a guy like Mike, with Mike Greenberg in the house.
Did you just say Band-Aid?
Band-Aid.
No, you said Band-Aid with an M.
No, I
which
didn't.
You might want to trademark right now. That's a good name for Band-Aid.
Band-Aid?
Band-Aids. Yeah.
That's when a dude has to enter the room and fix what the fuck's going on.
That's right, bro. I want to put a Band-Aid on this.
Yeah, dude, listen, you guys are just a bunch of boys in here. We need a Band-Aid. Fix this scenario up right quick. Before we move on to the next topic, I was going to mention, I saw a graphic, Luke, I think it was this morning, where it showed the Bucs 22 starters, not counting specials, and every single one of them was drafted with the exception of Ben Brennerson, Baker Mayfield, and Hassan Reddick, which is unbelievable and unprecedented. And they're in the playoffs, right? And they're competing. And now, arguably, they're in, I think, the early stages of another Super Bowl contention window, which is crazy because all of these guys are guys that we've brought in and we've built and we've paid and we've kept and we've, basically from the ground up, even through the Tom Brady nonsense. And then after Tom Brady, paying that credit card bill and still adding guys that are starters. And I'm not saying they're starters because they're starters. They're fucking good starters. These are guys that start on other teams.
They won the division while eating $80 million of dead cap space. Yeah. Like that alone should have gotten him executive of the year. Like that's bonkers to me. But now, like I mentioned it a minute ago, like they went overnight from being one of the oldest teams in the league to one of the youngest teams in the league, and you wouldn't have known the difference. I can't remember who it was. Otherwise, I would roast them for it. But there was some national analyst who was who just offhandedly mentioned once that, like, oh, I'm not sure about the Bucs. They're one of the, they're getting older. They're one of the older teams. And I'm like recently, like this offseason, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about?
Probably no, Chris Sims. It's either Chris Sims or Kurt Warner. Those two fucks hate us for some reason.
I don't.
I get Chris Sims. His spleen is buried somewhere around the 37-yard line.
Yeah, that's fair. I would still have some trauma from that. I would get that.
I get that. But Kurt Warner, come on, dude. We've been nice to you. What are you talking about? You even gave your stupid son a chance, and it didn't work out.
Still upset about the post 99 games where we beat them twice in a row on Monday Night Football and sat.
Well, the refs had to
buried Kurt Warner's soul in the grass at Raymond James on that interception return by Brooks. So maybe that's it.
Or were done outplaying Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk right then all night long on Monday Night Football.
That game is still probably the most entertaining football game I've ever watched in my life.
I can still watch that game.
35. Yeah, 100%.
It stood the test of time. Standing the test of time is Buccaneers fans going berserk and overreacting to anything that we do in the first round, it seems. And it happened yet again. I know we already talked about it on Friday, but a lot of these people maybe haven't seen that. But we've got to talk about the first round shock heard around the Bay when the Bucs at 19 decided to add another wide receiver to the team that is absolutely stacked, in my opinion, at wide receiver, and has a Hall of Famer in Mike Evans, a guy that's a Hall of Fame caliber player in Chris Godwin. You've got arguably one of the offensive rookies of the year in the receiving room, at least, in Jalen McMillan. And they go to Ohio State, wide receiver at 19, Emeka Egbuka. And probably 80% of Bucs fans on Twitter had a meltdown. And it was just, I get it because we're all thinking pass rush, linebacker, or anything. And like you said, it ended up being, in my opinion, a very good pick. But just love to hear your thoughts on how shocking that was, Luke. And if it actually was shocking, if you really take a step back and think like a general manager would.
Yeah, I think that I said it last time, I think, where it was just like, right away, it was like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. And then literally, like almost instantly, you start piecing things together where you're like, what does Emeka Egbuka bring to the table as a player, as a teammate, as a leader, the experience, the polish, the football character, as you say, like just the type of guy you want to build your roster around. And you start checking all those boxes that the Bucs front office and coaching staff have been checking for years now, where it's just like, oh, of course it was going to be that guy. Like, of course he fits. Of course he makes the most sense. And again, like you're looking at this from nobody wants to think about post Mike Evans life. Nobody wants to think about what happens if maybe Chris Godwin, doesn't get back to 100% for a little while. And then again, he's going to be 30. So you never know. Like, nobody wants to talk about that, but you want to be ready in the event that bad things happen, which they did last year. And also, Baker Mayfield's only 30, which is like the new 23 when it comes to NFL quarterbacks starting and being successful. So, like, if you're Baker
Luke,
and you're looking
drafted a 30-year-old quarterback, bro. So yeah, he's the same age.
Dude, like, Baker Mayfield is looking at this and saying, like, I'm going to be like 36 before I have to worry about who I'm throwing to. Like, there's going to be a seamless transition from that duo to this duo. Again, assuming Jalen McMillan continues to develop, which I imagine that he will, especially being in that room. And again, you're also drafting a guy, I know multiple people have touched on this, but Emeka Egbuka spent his entire college career as like the glue that held together the greatest receiver room in college football. Arguably, 1A, 1B with LSU there for a little while, but like all of those great underclassmen that came and went, and he could have been one of them. Like, he could have easily come out last year and been a first round pick, elected to go back just like everybody else on that team because they were so pissed off about the way that season ended. They wanted a championship. So they went back and they won the damn thing. Like, he could have been in that lineage of we all leave a year early because we're just that good. He could have done it. Instead, he went back. He mentored Jeremiah Smith, mentored Carnell Tate, and still put up impressive numbers. It's now number 1 in catches and like number 2 or 3 in yards in that school. Because like, you're not just talking about those guys. You're talking about Chris Carter. You're talking about David Boston. You're talking about so many other receivers, Santonio Holmes, who have come through there. And it's Emeka Egbuka that has the most catches. So again, it makes so much sense if you just took the position away and you just described what he brings to the table as a player and as a core kind of foundational teammate and leader. You would have no problem with this pick, and you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, this is exactly the kind of guy that the Bucs want to build around." So again, it feels like a luxury pick. I guarantee you, it won't feel that way in a couple of years. And I believe enough in what they've done at the other positions to not be upset about it at all, which is why we tried to caution people right away that like, hey, let's not panic here, because the player himself, I think, is just such a great fit for this team, and it's going to ensure that again, this team doesn't have to worry about the wide receiver position for a long, long time.
Crazy you leave out Ohio State legend and Buccaneer legend Joey Galloway, bro. I don't know how you miss that, bro. All right, that's not.
Yeah, he was the theme of the weekend. Yeah, the theme of the weekend was Joey Galloway.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
yeah. It was just funny you said all that, Luke. I'll let you in sync. It's just funny you said all that, all the players that he mentored and all these guys that were, the talk of the draft year in and year out while he stayed at college. And meanwhile, oh, by the way, I have the record for most receptions in school history. Just,
right.
Almost like an afterthought, which is crazy because if you watch him, you're like, this guy's not the afterthought, even with the studs around him. So it's just really impressive to see him do that. And that just kind of speaks more to how he's going to fit into a room where it's Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. And now this guy comes in and just seemingly going to slide right in, not pout, not cry, do his job, and probably shine all in the same way that we saw Jalen McMillan eventually once he started kind of catching on and getting healthy. Stank?
Luke, how do you think Emeka is going to handle not even being the best wide receiver the Bucs took in this draft? And not to jump right to the end of the draft, but do you think he sounds like a mature kid. Said he's a mentor. I've heard people say he's coached on the field. But everybody's got an ego. And when he gets out there at training camp and nobody's talking about him and everybody's talking about Tez Johnson, how do you think he's built to handle that?
I mean, who's not talking about the new Johnson in the room, Stank?
If anybody is built to handle it, it's that guy. And I don't think he's going to give a shit at all because, again, this is a guy who passed up being a first-round pick last year to go back and win a championship. The man wants to win. He knows what it feels like to win. He wants to keep that going. And, man, I'm a big Tez Johnson fan. I had a 4th-round grade on him in like the 150s, and they got him in, 235 or whatever it was. So,
crazy.
I mean, I don't see how you look at Tank Dell and don't see that, what Tez Johnson can be. And Tank Dell was a 3rd-round pick who played like a 1st-round pick until he got hurt. And I know that's going to be the big, thing is, can he stay healthy? Can he avoid getting injured at 154 pounds? Obviously, he's going to get an NFL weight room. He's going to bulk up. But man, he's so much faster on tape than his 40-yard dash time. And he's everybody be like, oh, he's always open. Like, yeah, he is always open. You know why? Go back and watch the rest of the rep. Go watch how he gets open. His releases are so smooth. He's so explosive. He's similar to Benjamin Morrison for me in that the only thing I didn't like was the injury for Morrison. Like the tape and the player, first round caliber with Benjamin Morrison. It's just about the injury. That's the only concern I had. So with Tez Johnson, the film is fantastic. He's just really tiny. So like if you can mitigate that part, then Luke, the player himself, man, is just so fun to watch.
I have the perfect homework assignment for this kid. Once he gets in, he meets the staff, he meets everybody, goes through a rookie mini camp. First assignment I'm giving him as Todd Bowles and Jason Light is, hey, you're spending the next 30 days with Desmond from Florida, okay? And you're going to lunch.
They need a room together.
And dinner. You're going to be his roommate. Anytime that guy eats, I want you to eat. Whatever he's eating, I want you to eat. Probably not going to be able to eat the same amount, but eat half of it. Same deal.
Yeah, but
go to lunch, breakfast, dinner, snack, dinner 1, dinner 2, 12, late night snacks, all of it. You hang out with that guy, he'll be 25 pounds heavier, ready to take kids by camp. I'm telling you.
No, that's a bad move now that I think about it, because everybody knows a guy like Tez who can out eat most big men. Like the little guys like that typically have ridiculous
So
like
what do you want him to do?
And I don't know.
True.
That might not work.
I can concur to that.
All right, so check this out. You're going to eat with Dez, and then you're also going to play video games and drink soda with Dez. And then Dez will also be doing the same thing, because my goal is to get him to 500.
More soda.
Dez is literally, this is not a joke. He is 3 times the size of Tez Johnson.
I need him to get to 500 pounds.
We went from the heaviest guy to the lightest guy.
We want the guy to live and have a career, bro. We don't want that.
Dude, did you see he's already dropped down to like 427?
Well, yeah, he walked twice and then went to the beach a third time, and that was it.
That's the crazy thing. We can make all these fat jokes. The kid
he's athletic.
Like this guy can play. He can fucking move. It doesn't make any sense.
Not only that, Stank
defies logic how the guy moves. And what better locker room to be in? The kids from down the street. I love it. We were out there on the Twitter streets trying to make sure Jason knew
we made it
that we needed this guy here, bro. I wasn't going to be happy.
Stank, you know what? Right now, dude, shake my hand, dude. Shake my hand. Because you and I, we made that shit happen, dude. We made that shit happen. We worked hard.
Sam, you were the first person I texted. As soon as I saw that happen, I was like,
I was so excited, dude. That made my entire weekend. When that happened, I threw a party at the crib. It was amazing. Speaking of amazing, day 2, okay, following up that nonsense from Bucs fandom with everyone going crazy. The Bucs basically went in and just checked off the biggest weakness on this team, and the weakness that they really couldn't take care of in free agency, which I'm glad they didn't, because that's usually the way. That position group is not exactly the best way to go through free agency in terms of the secondary. Love to hear your thoughts on what they were able to do day 2 with Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish, corners that can play inside, outside, and are going to bring not only, young blood to the group, but now speed and an ability to no longer have to play cover 3 every single fucking down.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing that I wanted to touch on is I remember I can't remember who Todd said this to or when or how, but we kept bringing up the fact that like he has to send all these blitz packages because 4 can't get home ever. But then when you send him, he's running all these fire zones where like you're blitzing these exotic looks, but you're having everybody else drop back into coverage and play these zones. As a quarterback, that's just so easy to exploit because you have all these voids and you can get rid of the ball before those rushers get home because you've got these open spaces in zone. So all they do is sit before the coverage can get there. And then the rushers don't get there, even though you don't know where they're coming from. And it was because I think he said once, like, I would love to play man. I can't. Mm-hmm. Like we can't play enough man coverage right now because we don't have like basically he's trying not to throw his guys under the bus, but it was obvious. Like I don't have the horses. I don't have the guys who can play. I can lock up in man coverage and just bring the blitz and try to do bump and run because, then you can disrupt some timing. He couldn't do those things. He did not have the corners that can do that. And so when you look at the tape for both Morrison and Parrish, both guys have played on the outside. They can play in the slot. Obviously, between the two of them, you're looking at Morrison as more of an outside guy. You're looking at Parrish as more of a nickel guy because of his size. But what do they do best? They get up at the line of scrimmage. They get in your face. and they're going to make it miserable for you to get off the line of scrimmage and try to get into your route. And when it's the same thing at the catch point. They're competitive, they're physical as hell. And I think when we look at, this is the problem with like taking a board like the one I make for Athlon Sports and a million other guys do in the media, where it's just like, these are the top 300 players in the draft, and this is how I rank them. For a team like the Bucs, and every team, you're going to have very specific fits and very specific positions that you're looking for. So you can knock, team boards are like 100, 150 guys, usually, like at the most, because there's very specific things you're looking for, very specific positions you're not prioritizing maybe. But the things we don't get to see are the interviews behind the scenes. We don't get to sit down. I used to do this more so than I have in the last few years, but I'd get a chance to sit down with prospects and kind of get to know them a little bit, but not in terms of what the team needs, like what each team needs. I'm just interviewing them as a member of the media. So I can't account for what it means for the front office guys to sit down with a guy like Benjamin Morrison or Jacob Parrish and really understand, hey, this is the type of guy we want in this organization. He's going to fit the mentality of what we're trying to do. It's hard for us to understand that when we're just ranking guys top to bottom. So I'll defer to Jason and his team when it comes to understanding what that player needs to look like in that regard. But on the film, man, Benjamin Morrison, again, the injury is the only thing that concerns me at all. And it is a concern because, again, hip injury for a corner, that scares me. But the tape, it's first round tape. Like, he would have been a first round lock, maybe even top 20 if that injury wasn't a thing. So if he is genuinely back to full health, I think that's going to be huge. He's going to be an absolute bargain. Most people have said so. And then Parrish is so much fun to me, man, because I'm a sucker for an undersized guy that fights at the line of scrimmage, that plays tough against the run. And oh, by the way, he's lightning quick. Like, he is short area quick, and he's got incredible long speed, 4.35 40, if I'm not mistaken. And again, these are two guys that what could they not do? They couldn't play physical at the line of scrimmage and stay in man coverage, and they couldn't run with people. They didn't have the speed. And so they've gotten faster, they've gotten more physical, they've gotten better in being able to run man coverages. And I think both of those guys fill specific roles, but their versatility in being able to play outside and in the slot means that when inevitably Jamel Dean gets hurt, you can put somebody outside and somebody in the slot when, any of these things happen. I think it's an instant upgrade over Izzian in the slot. And maybe, you'd hope that Morrison can be an upgrade pretty quick here over Jamel Dean, especially if he's not able to stay healthy. But man, I think that room got so much better. Again, two of the top corners on my board, both of them either at or later than I would have had them going. And I just think they're such great fits for the locker room as well.
Luke, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question. So there was reports saying that Morrison actually had a private showing to show that, hey, his hip was actually healed up, and it wasn't actually an injury. More or less, it was a growth that he was waiting for the growth plate in his hip to like actually close up. So
yeah, I heard him talk about something like that too.
So do you think that might have like been in consideration for the Buccaneers to take a chance on Morrison and be like, okay, he looks fluid, his hip is holding up together, we're confident in this. The medicals, they're saying that he's good to go. Do you think that might have been like the key thing for them to be like, okay, we're going to take him at 53?
I think, and I'm trying to piece this together because I agree with you. It was kind of confusing, like trying to parse this together with the way it came out. If I understand it correctly, when he was talking about the growth plate thing, I think he was talking about the first surgery he had in high school,
right?
Where he had a previous hip surgery. I think that's what they were waiting on to do the growth plate thing, because otherwise, I don't know why you would just decide like, okay, now is the best time to get this corrected in the middle of the college football season. Like, I think that was a response to an injury that happened. So I think they maybe took that opportunity to do what they needed to do to correct it or whatever, but he definitely got hurt last year that precipitated that. And it wasn't just that he decided in October, like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and get this done and not play the rest of the season. I don't think that's how it worked.
That's how I understood it too. He would have had to have that surgery at some point. And having injured himself then and there, they're like, all right, it looks like it's time now for this to be taken care of. Let's go ahead and clean it up, take care of it, get it out of the way now. And then he had that private showing, I guess, 4 days before the draft with a bunch of teams. And that kind of put everything to bed. The most interesting thing to me that it was weird that we didn't hear about it was that his dad played safety at Washington with Todd Bowles. And we never heard about that. And so that immediately opens up a whole different level of insight and communication and understanding of like a behind the scenes scenario where these guys were in more than just regular communication, because he's literally friends with his dad. So like if we would have known that, I'd probably be like, you know what, it might be
They're probably going to take Benjamin
might be
Morrison,
the pick, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way. And what's funny, I saw some of that workout too. There was like a local news station that covered it prior to the draft, and so there's some clips of him, moving around and doing everything that you would want to see him do at the combine and stuff like that. It looks pretty damn good to me. Again, it's just a workout; it's not football. But and you heard Beal and everybody talk about, they're not going to rush him back. They're going to make sure that he's back into regular physical shape before then they try to push and see what he's capable of on the field. So they're not going to rush it with him. But man, again, if he's able to be the player we saw on film until he got hurt last season, even going back to 2023, really his whole career at Notre Dame, I think he had like 6 picks as a freshman or something like that, at like 2 or 3 in a game early in his freshman year.
Top 15. Top 15.
Yeah, I don't often, overly salivate over college athletes' game film. This kid is as impressive as you'll see a corner coming out. I mean, somebody called him like a Darrell Revis type corner. And I was like, yeah, right. I mean, but you go and you watch some of the cut-ups of this guy, and he's got that type of ability, which is crazy, honestly. So I'm extremely excited. I was salivating while you were talking about us playing man. I don't even know what that really feels like. I don't know. Like,
it's been a while.
Yeah, I'm so used to zone. The thought of us actually being an aggressive secondary and being able to, bring pressure, not just from the front 7, but have our corners and safety really press these teams. Man, I just can't wait. Can't fucking wait.
What's most exciting, Luke, I think, is Parrish kind of added to the mix here. If you watch his tape, it reminds me a lot of Tyke Smith. Smaller guy, a lot of impact, fast, always around the ball, fighting through wide receiver screens, running back screens, making plays in the backfield as a corner. And again, it feels like they got another player who's now multiple. I wouldn't be shocked if they cross-trained him at that same spot that Tyke played last year, where it was almost like a hybrid linebacker / corner, and maybe even a little
star backer, money backer, whatever.
Maybe even a little bit of safety. But now all of a sudden you got him, Izzy, you got Tyke Smith, you got all these guys that can move around, and then you got Morrison who can play inside and outside. Now you have the ability to go in a bunch of different looks, even when Jamel Dean is healthy, and then also bring him along. But I'm excited to see how Parrish is going to be out there. I mean, I don't want to say Rondé Barber type comparisons, but I remember when Tyke came out, I said he makes Rondé Barber like plays, where he just seems to always be in the right spot at the right time. And we saw it play out last year. If it wasn't for injuries, I really think he would have been one of those guys at that NFL award ceremony for Defensive Rookie of the Year. And so now we have another guy that plays very, very similar, and it feels like now we have a depth that is also multiple and exotic at the same time. It's going to be fucking exciting. Dude, I played those clips of Parrish, which I saw them when I was making them and putting it together. And when I looked at it now, I was getting jacked just watching this kid. I'm like, this guy's as impressive and exciting to see as Benjamin Morrison, who was at 53.
So Parrish has one of my favorite traits in a football player, which is, especially on defense, where he plays the game like he has no clue how small he is. Like he plays with reckless abandon and just absolute controlled chaos. Like he plays with a physicality and an aggressiveness that belies his measurements. Like usually a guy that small is going to try to protect himself. He's going to try, and again, that can get you into trouble. Jordan Whitehead, type of, always seems to be banged up because maybe he needs to take it a little easier. But man, I love a slot corner because you have to be tough as hell to play that position. Things are going to get physical. You're closer to the box. You're closer to the line of scrimmage most of the time. You're going to have to be tough. You're going to have to shed blocks. You're going to have to make tackles. He does all of those things at a high level, and he's just highly competitive dude. Like I know that's easy to throw that around because you assume everybody at that level is competitive, but even at that level, there are levels to it. Some guys are more competitive than others. And I think those two guys raised the bar for that room in such a massive way. And the Bucs had to have it, man. They had to improve the overall depth, but also the ceiling of that group. Those guys do both of those things.
Luke, who doesn't love a hot little slot? I mean, what are we talking about here, man? Who doesn't love a hot little slot
I do.
On a Sunday afternoon? Okay. Sign me up every single time.
Yeah,
every
I do.
Single time.
And listen, they're unlike anything we have in that room right now outside of Izzy. We still have the size guys. Zion, he proved me wrong last year. He played out of his mind. He's definitely a legit corner.
Top 75 on my board that year. I just want to say that.
Yeah, and we talk enough shit about Jamel Dean here. I mean, we'll see if Jamel's able to recuperate his career here.
I want him to stay healthy so much, man.
Yeah.
I think Jamel Dean is a great human being. He is hilarious as a person. Like, I love his personality, man. He is so much fun.
Yeah,
I was there every day in the locker room covering them as a beat writer in 2019, and he's just hilarious, man. He is so funny, and so I'm pulling for him, man. I want him to stay healthy because he's made some big plays. We've seen him do it. The deep ball pick he had against the Saints a couple years ago. He can make plays, man. God, please stay healthy, man. I just want you to stay on the field.
He's got to earn his spot, and I think having to light a fire under his ass will be the best thing for him because he's still very young if you really think about it. He's younger than
he's 28 years old.
He's a young guy, and when you meet him, personality-wise, he's still very much a kid, and that's crazy to say, but he's still, and that's cool. It's cool to have that youthful, jubilance about you, but I think he's also been he had to earn his spot initially as a rookie and a second-year player, but then it kind of just became, I'm by default the outside corner here. And slowly, now it's like, all right, dude, you're going to have to earn this. And I think that's going to be the best thing for him. And you know what? If he ends up, stepping up to the plate and Parrish makes plays and Benjamin Morrison makes plays, guess what? The Bucs are in a really good spot. Injury-wise, depth-wise, trade-wise, value, somebody losing a corner in training camp or midway through the season, you never know. Now you got a guy that at least is trying to be a dog. And somebody mentioned it in the chat that it kind of took it out of my mouth. Parrish answered Jason Light, general manager of an NFL team. He answered his phone call with "What's up?" I mean, that just tells you everything you need to know, dude. The guy was just like, "You ain't gonna big time me, bro. I'm fucking Jacob Parrish, okay? I'm out there. I'm a fucking hot little slot, okay? Let's go."
One thing you mentioned, Jamel Dean needing that like fire and being able to be motivated. He's also highly motivated because this is the last year of his contract. And he has no guaranteed money left even this year. So
double fire.
It's not just about this year for him too. It's that even if he's not going to stay here, if he wants to get paid by anybody else, this is the year that he's going to have to show out, prove he can stay healthy, prove he can be a playmaker, prove he can be a high-quality starter. Because whether it's here or somewhere else, he's going to want to get that big deal next year.
Luke, I hadn't thought about it until just right now. Jamel, he's rangy. I mean, that word was invented for a guy like him.
Safety.
Do you think that he's a guy who could potentially move to safety? Let's say Morrison shows up at camp and just puts the flag on the field and takes his job, which is a very good possibility. Is Dean a guy you think that could potentially transition to safety?
I mean, I'd love to see him try if that's something that they think he's made for it. Yeah, the tough part is he's kind of lean and high cut, like he's got really high hips, and so if you're going to be able to roll. The thing about Todd in particular, and a lot of NFL defenses are doing this now, is you really want those guys to be interchangeable. In terms of free and strong. There's really no free and strong in a lot of those NFL defenses anymore, and Todd's is one of them, where you got to have a guy like Twan who can come down in the box or be single high and be just as comfortable doing both of those things. I think that maybe I'm comfortable with Jamel being that center fielder and playing single high and flipping and going, rangy that way. Do I really want him coming down in the box and, dealing with pulling guards and dealing with, interior guys climbing to the second level and that sort of thing, trying to get low and get, big running backs on the ground? I think that's a whole different ballgame. So there are traits that he doesn't have that would concern me. And
he doesn't track the ball well. That's the other thing. Sorry, Luke, go ahead.
But as
he has at times, he's very inconsistent with it. Like there's moments where he does it really, really well. But I think that's also a technique thing too. You have to be confident in your technique so that when when to flip, when to try. When he gets his head around, he can make plays.
He feels so stiff. It's almost like a Lego man out there running around, or like somebody doing stop motion in animation with like a action figure. It doesn't seem fluid when he moves or changes his hips, and even it almost looks like he's confused, or his body's like, oh no, we're supposed to go left. Oh yeah, sorry. Like it's something there. Well, it's weird. But then other times, remember, he looks good.
When they drafted him, the only reason he went in the third round is because he was coming off a torn ACL. Like he was already injured when they drafted him, because he was 6'1", 200 plus, ran in the 4.3s if I'm not mistaken, but he was hurt, and so that's why they took the chance on him, because the upside was there. But I again, he's just always been banged up even before they drafted him. So I just wonder if, when you talk about that stiffness, he's already tall. He's already got the high hips. He already had the knee injury. He's dealt with a hip injury. He's dealt with different, so it's just like, I feel like maybe he even can't get his body to do what he knows it needs to do, because he's just always behind the 8 ball from a health standpoint.
He just never looks like he's in a hurry. He plays corner like Cam Ward plays quarterback. It's just like he's out there, like he He's happy to be out there, and at times he looks fucking phenomenal. At times he just doesn't look inspired. He doesn't necessarily have that kind of fighting dog in him. Definitely don't think he's a natural press guy, although PFF's numbers might say differently. But I don't know, man.
He does play better.
I think he falls victim. If there's ever like something where it looks like he's lost interest, I think bigger corners with longer arms who know they're fast tend to just think those things will bail me out, even if they don't do it on purpose. It can even be subconscious to be like, I'm so used to being able to use my size, able to use my length, able to just catch up with my speed if I make a misstep here and there. It doesn't always work that way. And then once you get to the point where maybe your body's breaking down on you a little bit and you can't do those things as quick, it's hard to rewire your mind to be like, oh shit, I can't just fall back on those traits that have always gotten me out of this. I've got to figure out a different way to win. And that's why I think sometimes he can look like, oh, that's not going to work. Shit, I got to figure something else out on the fly.
He always looks like he's just used to, oh, that guy's only 5 yards away from me. No big deal. And then
I just reach out and I'm going to get there.
Yeah. And he's sneaky athletic only because he's got such long strides. He's a longer human being in general. So I feel like you're spot on with that. He just looks uninspired or uninterested because he just naturally always just, I'll be fine. He's only 3, 4, 5 yards.
I'll get there.
By the way, I'm looking at the Bucs official depth chart on Buccaneers.com, and Tyke Smith is listed as a safety. So in case
again, I think if they would have drafted a safety, then he could stay in the nickel, but they went double in the corners. So now he's, as soon as they picked Parrish, especially after Morrison, you knew it was like, okay, the transition to safety is happening. There he goes.
I wouldn't be shocked though to see him playing both of those spots, and even Parrish probably I don't know if maybe as a rookie.
I wouldn't be surprised to see them both on the same field. You go into dime packages and you've got them both on the field in slot, and you've got Tweez. Like that's the dream. That's why you draft these guys like this and develop them, because you can do literally whatever you want.
They got guys that are aggressive and ball hawks, guys that are looking to steal the ball. I don't know which one of them said it, but maybe it was Benjamin who said, I feel like when that ball is in the air, it's just as much mine as it is the wide receivers. And that's kind of a changing of the thought process. Antoine's like that. Tyke's like that. Maybe Zion's like that a little bit as he's getting more and more confident. I don't feel like Jamel plays that way because rarely does he even look for the ball. But it's definitely a complete shift of attitude and mindset. And again, bringing these guys with dog mentalities to the back end of the defense, not just, on the line in the trenches. And again, when you watch Parrish, man, he's in the right spot at the right time. And when he comes and hits you, like there's one highlight where he's going against a guy who's like a foot taller than him. It didn't fucking matter to him, dude. Didn't give a fuck. He wouldn't have even known. It was like he catches the ball with one hand over him too, by the way. So it's such a, I guess, refreshing, but it's also, it's going to bring so much more aggressive nature to that team and to that room. And finally, that side of the ball is going to finally feel like they're going to punch the team in the mouth they're facing, as opposed to getting punched and maybe sometimes getting a hit in here or there. And speaking of getting hits in, day 3 was a fucking sight to behold. Okay. The Bucs added ridiculous value. Luke, you talked about it on some of your stuff on Twitter, and everybody across the country really was giving the Bucs a lot of props for their day 3 picks, especially starting off with David Walker, who went to a small school, and everyone's, natural instinct is, it's a small school, smaller competition, because he looked like a man against boys. But he went to the Senior Bowl, I believe, or the Shrine Bowl, and absolutely showed himself out. Yeah, and proved that he does belong. And his tape and his productivity, I think something like 80 tackles for loss. That's fucking insane. We didn't talk much about him or Elijah Roberts, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on David Walker right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, we closed the last episode with that, right? Somebody asked about him, and we snuck it into the end of the episode, and I told you he was one of my favorite small school prospects in the whole draft.
Yep, you called it.
So as soon as they grabbed him, I was like, yes, let's go. But here, who else went to a small school and then went to the Senior Bowl and dominated everybody there? A little guy named Ali Marpet, who played at an even smaller school in Hobart instead of Central Arkansas. So the blueprint is definitely there. Obviously, it's a different position, but man, I mean, David Walker's tape is just so good. And when you do the same thing at the Senior Bowl against the best of the best, you probably know what you're doing. And again, he's a guy that he reminds me. I hate NFL comps. Like, that's not my thing. I think it's annoying, but it's hard not to watch his tape and think Melvin Ingram. If you guys remember him coming out of South Carolina, played for the Chargers, a couple other teams like that. He's built like a refrigerator. He's wider than he is tall, but he's got this powerful frame. So people will look at it and say, oh, he's 6'1", so he's undersized. No, he's shorter than you're used to seeing a pass rusher be, but he's not undersized. He's powerful as hell. He's like 260 plus at 6'1". So he's got this wide, really power packed frame, man. And again, the tape is there. He knows what he's doing when he's rushing the passer. He's using his hands. He's using his footwork. He's setting up guys outside and chopping and coming across their face back to the inside. I love this pick so much. Again, I know, everybody's freaking out that they didn't address the front four with the first 3 picks. They got a guy who, again, I had a 4th round grade on him, but an early one, and he went halfway through the 4th round. Super happy with the value they got there. And I think teams, I think fans are going to be really, really happy about that pick when they see him in a red jersey.
Luke, when I first saw the clips of him on YouTube and started to look at him, 2 things came into my head immediately. Dwight Freeney.
Yes.
He doesn't have the arm length that Dwight does, and the other thing was a Teddy Graham. He's kind of built like a Teddy Graham, like all body, short legs, short arms, but he gets the job done. Like this guy he's a menace, and he just keeps coming at you. So I'm excited about that kid too. And then watching the Senior Bowl cut-ups, yeah, he's a problem. He's built weird. He gets under you, he gets under guys. He gives them fits. And
that's almost more annoying if you're a lineman. Like you have a guy that's got like an odd frame and odd measurement. You're like, I don't know what the hell to do with this. Yep. That's not like, this isn't usually what I'm dealing with. I cannot wait to see him on the field in minicamp and training camp, man. He's going to be fun to watch.
He plays with explosive violence, which is something that you always like. It's something you kind of almost can't coach or teach, but you can kind of teach how to control it. And having a guy come in right off the bat that has that and doesn't have to play every single down, can immediately come in and be a specialist for you. And that means he doesn't have to necessarily, have the high NFL IQ right off the bat. He doesn't have to be able to understand what he's looking at immediately. He doesn't have to, try to learn everything in day one.
He lives in the backfield. That tells you his IQ is extremely
No, I'm not saying he doesn't have the IQ. I'm saying the learning curve of learning what he's going to be looking at the NFL level, it's going to be a little bit mitigated when he just, hey, we just need you to get to the passer on this one. It's 3rd and 17.
Yep.
Fuck all this. You don't got to read shit. Just go get the fucking quarterback. That's way different than you're in there on 3rd and 6 every single drive. That's way different. And having a guy like Hassan Reddick to teach him, if he could develop a spin move, like Dwight Freeney, he would be unstoppable. By the way, he doesn't have that, I don't think, when you compare him to Freeney, but he's got that compact, explosive nature about him. And imagine him, Hassan Reddick, Vita Vea, Kalijah Cansey, you got Yaya Diaby. I mean, you take Vita off the field on like a pass rushing down, and you put those guys together. Holy shit. It doesn't matter what you're doing in the secondary or at the linebacker position. Someone's getting killed by one of these guys, and it's going to be pretty fucking fast.
So real quick, Vixen actually popped up in the chat. She brought this up. Walker had 10.5 sacks and 23 tackles for a loss last season, and he had 39 sacks during his entire college career.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I think Pless mentioned it during the 8-hour stream that we did on Saturday.
Shout out to Pless, bro. What a fucking soldier.
Something like
man, Pless was
I did 8 hours with us yesterday, man. Or it was yesterday, whatever day that was.
Yesterday, yeah.
It was Saturday.
Saturday.
He had 81. He said something like 80 or 81 tackles for loss in his career in college, which is insane.
Nasty.
That means he's playing run, he's playing quarterback, he's doing it all. And another guy that kind of comes in now and is probably going to be more of an interior guy and not a guy we really talk too much about. Elijah Roberts comes in again, violent, aggressive. You can see that he's the dude in that room when he was playing at SMU. Love to hear your thoughts, Luke, on Elijah Roberts, how he fits in now, how he could fit in, in the future with what we have going on with Logan Hall and some of the other guys. And maybe if there's a future for him to possibly be that, exotic blitz, I don't want to say blitzing, but maybe stunt type guy that, Todd Bowles will really be able to play around with and really have some fun with his ingredients in his gumbo.
Yeah, again, I don't say this very much about 5th round picks very often. I think he's going to make an immediate impact, man. I think, again, I'm pretty sure I mentioned it at the top. No player in college football the last 2 seasons had more pressures than Elijah Roberts. Nobody at all. Not Abdul Carter. I know he played off-ball linebacker a little bit, but not Donovan Ezraku. Nobody. This guy, who again will be more of an interior guy, but he played on the edge. He's done a bunch of different things, and Todd will move him all around. He's again 6'3 plus, 285, 290. So he's got that. He's going to be able to be a 5 technique, which is like the defensive end in a 3-4 kind of spot. If you're in a 4-man front, if you're in nickel, he can play on the edge early downs. He can slide inside on passing downs. he's going to be able to move around and do whatever you want. And he's athletic enough to drop if you want him to. That's not where I want him, what I want him doing most of the time. But Todd likes to drop Vita Vea, so he's going to drop everybody.
Todd put Vita at a wide 9.
Yeah, like, exactly. What? They put Vita in the A gap and then have him drop back and knock Jake Ferguson's block off. So he'll do whatever he wants. But I'm telling you, man, Elijah Roberts is not a 5th round talent. He's not. Like, I had a 4th round grade on him. I think he's not as fast and explosive as some other rushers, I guess, but he's the total package. Like, he does everything at such a high level. We talk so much about this converting speed to power, this idea as a pass rusher where you're explosive enough off the ball to get offensive linemen off balance. And then once they are off balance, trying to catch up to your speed, even in just those first couple steps, you switch to your power moves. And because they're off balance, you put them on their ass on the way to the quarterback. Both Walker and Roberts, their tape is full of those types of reps. And again, the last 2 seasons, 131 quarterback pressures for Elijah Roberts, the most in anybody in the FBS. Again, aggressive, physical, violent, explosive, all the things, versatile. He's going to be a perfect fit in Todd's defense. And I think, again, for a 5th round pick to be able to make the kind of impact that I think he can make, it's pretty rare.
Yeah, athlete, right? I screenshot this because we made a big point talking about it last year. If anyone can see it, all that green, that's the RAS score right there. Yes. Crazy. As oddly, Tez is the one that had the worst of them all, but I think he might be the freakiest athlete, of the ball.
RAS punishes the shit out of you for being small too. Mm-hmm. Like if you're like low percentile size, like your score takes a hit, and I think he might be the lightest player in the history of the NFL.
Yes, so we got the biggest and the smallest.
Going to work against him there, but yeah, I love. They're big RAS guys, not just specifically that particular component, but they clearly value. Go look at Graham Barton's last year. Look at Zion McCollum's. I think Zion McCollum was a perfect 10, if not a 9.99 or something like that when he came out. It definitely matters to them. These guys are all really, really good athletes.
The cool thing about seeing Roberts is you're going to have these guys dealing with Vita Vea, on 1st and 2nd down. Then all of a sudden this guy comes in who's a completely different animal. He's violent. He's quick. He's just got to, not to say the Vita's not violent and quick, but Vita's a lot of power that you're kind of gearing up for. And all of a sudden they throw this guy in the mix who's, it doesn't sound like we're going to have Will Golson anymore. And Logan Hall does what he's supposed to do, but this guy's a completely different animal, especially if he's coming in on 3rd down and you've got the ability, with Kalijah and Vita to stunt and hold up blockers. This guy's going to, you see him when he gets through that gap, his closing speed is ridiculous. It's up there with anybody else in the draft. If you watch his tape, it's crazy how fast he's able to get to the ball carrier. And he's just a dog, dude. I think the underlying scenario or adjective for all these guys so far that we've talked about, dog. They're all absolute dogs.
Yep, absolutely.
We haven't even really gotten to the most exciting pick, Stank's favorite guy, Stank's crush. Stank loves him a good Johnson.
Sammer, hold on for a second. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry, but I do want to ask this one question. I know we got Elijah Roberts, we got Walker. Luke, gotta ask, if both Walker and Roberts are on the field at the same time, are we seeing Roberts lining up on the line as a D-line? Because I know when he came in, they kind of had him as I think they identified him as an edge, but he was interior D-line, outside D-line as well. So how would they line him up when it comes down to the formation and the setup and everything like that, if you're trying to maximize both of these guys?
He's a defensive.
Yeah, that's what I tweeted this out when it happened too, because I saw him pop up on the screen on the TV broadcast as an edge, and I tried to let people know right away because they're like, "Oh, why'd they take 2 edges?" And he's not a traditional edge. He's not going to be in this defense. Maybe if you're a classic 4-3 team, right, then he would be a base end for you, but he's not going to be in Todd's defense. Again, depending on the alignment, and again, the depth that they're building here is going to allow them to rotate guys all the time. So you're going to probably see those 2 guys on the field sometimes. You might see one, you might see the other, but the ideal role for a guy like Roberts is going to be that if you need somebody who can be a defensive end in a 4-man front who's big enough and strong enough to defend the run and hold their own. JPP is the perfect example. That's why he was such a great pass rusher, but never got enough credit for as good of a run defender as he was. DeMarcus Lawrence in Dallas was the same way. He's in Seattle now, but guys that are they're big, long. Roberts has great length, so you need a guy who's 285 and big and has long arms if you're going to be in a 4-man front in your early downs. high probability that they're going to run or pass. So if they do run, you got to have somebody who's strong on that edge, who's going to be able to set the strong edge, turn everything inside. That's the guy. Then you get into 3rd and 6 plus if you're in a 4-man front. That guy kicks inside, so you're rushing him on a guard like the Giants did with their NASCAR packages where they just put 4 defensive ends on the field on 3rd and passing situations.
The Bucs can do that now. The Bucs can do that.
You know, Reddick and Yaya and Walker and those guys become the edge guys even in a 4-man front, and then you're stacking guys on top. You're spinning them from the A gaps and running them through all those different gaps if you're bringing blitzes. So Robert's versatility is going to be based on the down and distance where he lines up, and that's, again, one of his best traits and why he fits so well here.
The thing, too, that we haven't really touched on is Hassan Reddick has never played with the talent of a Kalijah Kancey and a Vita Vea at the same time, okay? Elijah Roberts.
He spent his first few years in Arizona as an off-ball linebacker. Like, they didn't even put him on the line of scrimmage to rush the passer. They were trying to make him an off-ball linebacker. It was absolute coaching malpractice before they figured out, maybe we should just let him rush the passer.
Let him rush the passer. Then you got Elijah Roberts, who's always been the guy. Now, all of a sudden, he's going to be the guy picking up the crumbs and the scrambling quarterbacks. And now we finally have the ability to throw guys out there that are going to be able to do everything at the same time on different packages and not, the Greg Gaines of the world just standing there watching things happen, leaning on offensive linemen. I know he doesn't replace Greg Gaines necessarily, but this is like a Will Golson with an insane level of athleticism and freak to him. And again, he's never played with a Vita Vea. He's never played with a Kalijah Kancey. I can't even imagine what he and Kalijah Kancey could do together next to each other with a Yaya Diaby and Hassan Reddick on opposite ends. That's crazy. That's just because now nobody's getting away from anybody because this guy's posing speed. I mean,
here's the fun thing that nobody's talking about either. They just spent a 2nd-round pick last year on Chris Braswell.
Yep.
Like, Braswell finished real strong last year. He had some reps that were like, okay, there you are. There's the 5-star athlete that came to Alabama as a highly prized recruit. Now you're starting to show up. I have a feeling that he is the best kept secret on that roster right now. Like, he's going to come out, and I think he's going to make a bigger impact than people are thinking. And again, when he's your 3rd or 4th best option to rush the passer, that weakness is going to become a strength really quickly. I think he's getting forgotten about in all this.
Stank, it's time to talk about Tez Johnson. A light Johnson
wants to talk about skinny Johnsons.
It's a light Johnson, but it's a big Johnson in the room. Stank, go ahead. Floor is yours.
I mean, he
Stank.
represents all the small Johnsons out there, bro. He's that guy now, and I just cannot get over the fact I didn't think there was any way in the world we were going to draft that kid. I was like, why? We're not going to take another receiver. People were mad enough we took a receiver in 1st round. There's no way at this point. We need linebackers, right? Who's out there? Who's going to play linebacker?
You saw what he told Jason on the call, right? He was like, "What took you so long?" And Jason was like, "Well, we didn't have a 6th." So
yeah.
Speaking of dogs, this guy obviously he believes in himself, right? We know that this kid is going to bring a different dynamic to the locker room. I don't know, man. I'm over the top excited about this guy. From the slot, he's different than anything we can bring to the table. Crazy, we have slots for days, right? You talk about hot slots. We could throw anybody at the slot right now. We've got a plethora of slot options. And who better than Johnson to fill that slot? Who better?
I love a room full of slots, dude. I mean, as many slots as I can get my hands on, I'm in, dude. And then this guy also answers this extremely annoying part of the Bucs for the last maybe 20 years. A fucking punt returner. Please. Somebody who can catch the ball and just beat the first wave with the reckless abandon that you need to be able to do it and just go. I mean, this guy is a Band-Aid for special teams and return game that we have not had. It's about time. And I said that about Buca, after the first night, but then this guy comes in, you're like, there's no need to put a Buca out there. We could maybe fuck around with it, put them both back there on kick returns and fuck with everybody. But
dude, he said that's my job.
This is his job. That's what I'm saying.
I'm the punt returner. So I was like, all right,
it's obvious. I mean, he knows. Listen, there's 4 guys ahead of me, dogs right now. I got to be number 5, and I got to make sure that they know I'm number 5 by adding something else, which is specials. He gets it. He knows what he's doing. But if you think about this, man, he's a starter in the 7th fucking round. Because he's going to play special teams and he's going to return kicks. So that's technically a starter. Then you get a Mecca in the 1st round. You get the 2 corners who are basically starters if they're not role players / starters. Roberts, I feel, is going to see the field. Walker's going to be impossible to deny the field. The Bucs got, at worst, a role player who's going to see the field 30, 40% of the time, and each and every one of these guys at worst. And that's crazy. That's just crazy. And Tez Johnson is the Bucky Irving, even from the same school, of the wide receiver class. And there's the first highlight there that I showed. Guess who's down the field blocking for him on an end around? Bucky fucking Irving, dude. I mean, his best friend is in town.
Bucky Irving.
It's crazy that they were able to pull this off. And yeah, Stank, you nailed it. He said, "Why did it take you so long?" was one of the first things he says to his new general manager, new boss. Guy goes, "Well, we didn't have a 6th-round pick. I'm so sorry." And that tells you the Bucs were even, like, if they had a 6th-round pick, that was their guy. So again, value, 7th round, like you talked about, Luke.
Yeah, again, I mean, I watch his tape and I don't see why he can't be Tank Dell, who had a phenomenal rookie season in Houston and was playing really well before he got hurt again last year. He's really tiny, but again, a guy who doesn't play like he's aware of that. He has a huge chip on his shoulder. He's got, I feel like you have to, like, guys like that. They talked about this with Will Campbell with his short arms, or Bryce Young because he was so small. Like, guys like that have always been the smallest guy. Like, they've always had that issue, and they continue to overachieve. They continue to show, prove people wrong and show people up, anybody who doubts them. So, like, I feel like you've got to have just a stupid level of confidence to be a size outlier in that way and continue to produce and continue to be a dominant player. And you just see, if you watch his press conference that he did over Zoom, like, he's not an arrogant player, but he is highly confident in his abilities. And he knows that, like, listen, you can talk about my size all day long. You're still going to have to catch me. You're still going to have to tackle me. My brain, my route running ability, all those things, like, they are superpowers to him that overcome his lack of size. And the tape bears it out, man. He's so smooth. He's so explosive. He's way faster, like I said, on tape than his 40-yard dash time would indicate. And again, I would have taken him 2 rounds earlier than that at least. So a massive steal for them.
Yeah, I mean, last year the question came up, or at some point Bucky made a comment of, the first guy never tackles me, right? It was this cockiness, confidence that I absolutely fucking love in these guys. And then this guy says, somebody asked him, "What do you say to people who talk about your size, this and that, and your, speed?" And he goes, his answer was, "Come tackle me, see what I do." And it's just the same type of thing. He's friends with Bucky. He's friends with what
7th round pick talks like that?
That's what I'm saying.
I love his attitude.
They're all friends. McMillan and him know each other. McMillan and
McMillan know each other.
Again, it's a very tight knit group. This entire locker room, the bonded, family brotherhood that they have going on right now is what you see. These teams, it's what carries guys through, like, ups and downs and through the playoffs and through tough times, adversity. I just love the character that they're building this team with, man. It just feels like a Bucs team. It just feels right, man. And they all check off almost the exact same boxes. And then you've got the Grizzly vets in the room that matter, and all these guys with Mike and Chris and Levante. And, I guess you could technically say Jamel Dean now, Antoine Winfield are kind of Grizzly vets at this point. We haven't even talked about the offensive line. This is just, dude, it's fucking ridiculous exciting. And we're going to close this show out, Luke, with you giving us an overall grade on, this class, the 6 picks we ended up with without a 6th-round pick. Obviously, all these dudes we talked about. I'd love to hear what you think
before
of this
you do that
as a whole.
Luke,
Stan?
do you have any thoughts on any of the UFAs that we signed? Any guys that you had graded?
Who's going to go in after that? But yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Sorry.
Well, if maybe you should make it to the pre-show meeting, Stank.
I need to see the list.
I told you, I'm
sure there is.
I
took an old man nap, right? And I came on the show. So I'm still like half asleep.
We did get the guy that we talked a lot about, Luke, and JJ Roberts, the safety out of Marshall. I think the Bucs are really hoping that guy was available. And Shiloh was a surprise, in my opinion.
Didn't expect that one.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked a little bit of shit about him, but he is a hard-hitting safety, and they didn't draft a safety, so I feel like it's as many guys in there as possible and see what happens, and I wouldn't hate it. And then they got an offensive lineman or a center, I think Jake Majors.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the guy that jumped out at me. I think he
and
can
also we got Will
Shepherd
as well.
Will Shepherd is the other guy that jumped out at me. Yeah.
And they paid a guy named Ben Chukwuemeka. I think they gave him the most money out of any UFA got in the entire league.
Damn.
A tackle from Georgia State.
I'm not familiar with his game.
I'm not.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jake Majors makes his team and becomes a guy on this team at some point. We have an older left guard, and you never know, man. I don't know if he translates over to that side, but we've seen the Bucs get these guys and undrafted free agents or late round picks in the offensive line that are meant to kind of shift around and swing at different positions. So that's always good. We got a goal.
Yeah.
We got a
we got
fucking
a goal.
Fuck
Hell
yeah,
We
yeah.
got a goal, and we got some super chats.
Izzy, can you do your
We got-
fucking? I was about to say, can you do your fucking job, bro?
I was waiting for y'all to finish
Instead
up,
of
but we
asking
have a super
questions,
chat.
instead of asking
Unreal.
questions, dude,
Unreal.
what are you wasting
Hey,
your
hold
time?
on, wait. Do you want me to just mumble around for nothing?
Yes, give me the super chat.
Okay. Anyways, so Loose Cannon's Vixen, our very own intern, dropped a super chat for $5. Super chat for my favorite rookie, Bucky's BFF Tez. And Mudfish Matt wanted to be generous and gift 5 memberships to the Loose Cannons podcast. We got Tyler becoming a member and a few others joining in. Congratulations to everybody. And Mr. Luke, how would you grade it?
I gave it a B plus, man. I think the only thing that's keeping it from being an A for me again was the lack of an off ball linebacker. But even that, like I said at the top, the weakest position group in this class by far was the off ball linebacker group. They score again. Let's go.
2-1.
Let's go.
Yep. Hey, Luke's grade just went from a B plus to an A. Just
Is it
because
an A?
Hell yeah.
Is it an A?
Go.
Every time
I
we say
love-
the word grade, we score. Sank, what's your grade? Quick, no. Luke, finish off your thought.
No, for real. Again, there were a couple of linebackers I really liked there late. Chris Paul Jr. out of Ole Miss, I thought would have been a great pick on day 3. Sean Dolak from Buffalo was a guy that was hoping they'd get as an undrafted free agent, but the Rams got both of them somehow.
Wow.
Including
Okay.
Willie Lampkin, the offensive lineman, who's like built,
Yeah,
like
we
3
talked
Kirby
about him.
buckets.
We talked about him too, yeah.
Yeah, he was great. But yeah, man, I think again, strong class. I do think when I do my grades, because I grade everybody for Athlon, and so I do think there's always a thing in the back of my mind. It's like, don't give the Bucs an A. Everybody's gonna just think you're being a homer. So like, I feel like I almost grade the Bucs harder than I would any other team because I don't want people to think I'm just doing it because I'm a homer. But man, I mean, go look. The Bucs comms department tweeted it out from the PR account where like all the tweets from everybody, every national analyst you can imagine, just the Bucs crushed this.
Yours was in there, by the way.
I did notice that. Big ups to whoever in the department.
Big ups to Luke
Mike.
Easterling. That dude.
Yeah, anybody, whoever pushed that button and put it in there. Thanks. Checks in the mail, guys. Appreciate it. way to make the Tampa boy feel loved 3,000 miles away still. Appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
But no, B plus, and that's again me being probably more stringent than I would be on anyone else to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest.
Kind of being a dick. Stank, what's your grade on this class?
I give it a B plus for the exact same reason. I was hoping we'd add a young gun at linebacker. We only had 6 picks. We stayed. We pissed Greeny off. We weren't able to really maneuver around and pick up some extra guys. And how can you hate anybody we took? They all have places on this football team. You could realistically make an argument that all 6 of these guys might make the roster, which that doesn't happen all the time. On a young team. So who are they going to cut? It's crazy. And talk about that receiver room. We got guys, that Palmer and Cam Johnson and Naughty Miller. Yeah, Naughty Miller and all these guys out here who are they're not going to give up their spots on this team. They're not going to give it up without a fight. The competition at that position is incredible. Yeah, you got the old folks home in the linebacker position, and whatever Savasi is, if he comes in here, maybe we see Deion Jones again. He played pretty decent towards the end of the year. I don't know Walker. Nobody knows what Walker is. They seem to be high on him, and he replaces KJ Britt. Don't know. Maybe we stay in nickel all the time, and we only have 2 linebackers on the field the majority of the time. So you don't know. Ultimately, that's the only reason I knocked it. Maybe it would have liked to see them draft the safety too, but how are you going to question what they did? So I'm extremely happy with it. And I'm like most Bucs fans, our first round pick is the one that probably gave me the least amount of excitement in the moment. But everything you hear about that guy is consummate pro, quarterback friendly. Even stupid ass Steve Smith was gushing over that guy, which hurt. Ew, Steve Smith Jr. Fuck off. Don't talk about my receiver like that. But he was his favorite receiver in the draft. So there you go, man. I think they hit a home run.
Yeah, listen, I'm a little bit higher than you guys. I'm giving them an A-. And initially, it would have been a B+ because I thought we really did need an edge rusher that was premier, early on. And I did want a linebacker at some point. But when you watch how the board played out, the guys that we wanted, all these dudes sliding, and you're like, there's got to be things that other teams obviously don't like. Why force a pick? Why force a pick to Bassa or Chris Paul Jr. as much as we love him? They know stuff we don't know. Kobe Bryant, same type of scenario, even though he was a corner. But then to see a guy like, Ezaraku not go in the first round like so many of us thought and so many people nationally thought, you're like, all right, maybe there's something there. And I guess they understood, listen, linebacking group in this draft class, not the greatest. We did sign a couple of guys. We're confident in what Levante does. Maybe some guys get cut, right before camp. They can add a couple of bodies. But you can't fault them for going valued every single one of these picks that they got. And Stank, I'm not questioning. All 6 of these guys will make this team. I don't see how they couldn't. All the way down to the 7th round guys, a punt returner at minimum, right? So I think they all make the team. And I'm sorry, guys like Miller and Raheem Jarrett and guys like Cam Johnson who have proven to me that he can just do nothing but be injured. I'm sorry. We love the story. I love the, journey. God bless you. And, I bid you good luck and farewell, but you're not doing that shit here. It's just, tough shit. I'm sorry. But, we just added, you could say our 4th best receiver is a starter on another NFL team in the rookie in Emeka. So you can't,
dude, I
give
said
him a
this
bad grade.
like right off the bat on Twitter, trying to like talk people off the ledge Thursday night, where it's like, you realize that either Emeka Egbuka or Jalen McMillan will be against the 4th best corner on someone else's defense when we put all those guys out there, which they will, by the way.
Yeah, that's the point.
Nobody wants to face that.
And not only that, they were able to address things that now are going to address future needs. So now we're not stuck, oh shit, we got to force a wide receiver pick because Mike Evans just retired and Chris Godwin is, limping along on the end of his career. Like, we're not in that position.
They're not going to have to
now.
force a receiver pick for a decade if these got like.
Hey Baker, don't worry about it, dude. You're all good. So
for the rest of your career, you're fine.
Not to give them at least an A- in this, because at the end of the day, all the guys that we thought were great linebackers ended up not getting drafted in the spots we thought, and the guys that we thought were going to be great edge guys outside the top 10, not there. So how could you fault them? Did I want a safety? Yeah, but they got JJ Roberts, who I actually did want as well. So I feel like they hit a lot of spots. They're comfortable.
Not only did they do that though, Sam, but like now Tyke is the safety though. So like now he fills that role because you double dipped on the corner, so you freed him up to do that.
And even if he's still, they're going to be able to interchange these guys. They got this amazing pot of ingredients that they can play with. Todd Bowles clearly said, hey, get me some shit I can play with. Please, get me some fucking toys so I can play on this side of the chessboard like, Liam and the guys in the past to play on their side. And that's why I give them an A- because I think they crushed it from a value standpoint, positions in need, and also just absolute character dogs.
Samurai, that's probably what my reaction, we drafted Amike, I wanted Ezaraku. I think we all were Ezaraku. Did you see Larry Foote's reaction when David Walker was drafted?
Yes.
Excited.
So good.
That's how you win a Super Bowl.
That's what he said.
Fucking excited. Like that's your defensive line coach right there.
Watch him.
Watch that raw enthusiasm.
Watch his tape. There's no way you watch that tape and not want to go outside and just fucking crush some kid on a bike as he's riding by. Like that's how could you not? The kid is a dog, and it's an underlying. Last year we talked about it: championship pedigree, dog, and character. All 3 of those things were checked off with every one of the picks. This year, same exact shit. All character guys, championship pedigree, absolute fucking dogs. I mean, Elijah Roberts, go watch that guy. He's a fucking missile on every play. Him and David Walker, you can tell, have always been the best player on the field at every single moment that they're on the field. That speaks volumes when you bring a guy like that onto a team. You add him to some other dogs, and he's now playing with other guys who are going to elevate him, make him look better, make his job easier. I mean, dude, I'm sorry. There are going to be some tough fucking decisions coming up in that wide receiver room. And even, for the O'Keefes of the world, okay? These, guys that maybe are kind of stuck in O'Keefe podcast, but he's in the limbo between tight end, fullback, which doesn't even exist really. What are you doing, man? You're gonna have to carve out a role because we got 85 receivers that got to make this team. And we're not cutting any of the guys we just drafted. So, and Trey Palmer, it's ticking, dude. Wake up. Figure it out.
Be pissed
Time
off.
to wake up.
Wake up pissed off every day, bro. Not just on some days. You need to start waking up pissed off consistently. I think that's the problem. But Luke, fucking phenomenal episode, man. This was a lot of fun. You got a cool little B+ next to you. It looks like I gave you guys grades. If I did, I would give Stank an F because,
I'll take a B+. I'll take a B+.
Yeah, I'd give you an F, Stank. Luke, let everybody in here. Actually, before I do that, you fuckers hit the like button, okay? And make sure you hit that subscribe button if you are new. We just did 18+ hours straight, 3 straight days of NFL draft coverage, not just the Bucs, the NFL draft, start to finish, every single round. Okay, Stank has hemorrhoids. He's been sitting on a donut okay, for 3 days straight now.
I already had surgery for that, bro. I'm good.
Oh, you're good? Okay. No preparation H necessary?
Nope.
All right. Nope. Well, my bad. Okay. Sorry for embarrassing you, but not really.
I mean, hey, this is my moment. Listen, guys, just go get the surgery, all right? You can suffer in silence and fill your toilet. Okay, we're going to move on. Good job for having us on here.
Luke, let us know where we can catch all of your grades, all your draft talk, all your NFL stuff, and everything else you do, man.
Yeah, man, go over to athlonsports.com. That's where all the stuff will be. I'll have 2026 stuff up this week. That's how crazy I am about this stuff. But you can go check out the full grades. I'll have now that stuff's kind of in the hopper the next week or so, I'll be writing a bunch of stuff for the Athlon NFL Preview magazine. So that'll be out in a couple of months, but we're going to do a bunch of work on that this week. And then I might actually get to take a nap. That'll be nice before we start looking ahead to the next season and the next draft class. But man, it's such a blast. I love being able to do this for a living. But just keep clicking over there at athlonsports.com to ensure that we get to keep doing this. But yeah, come over to Twitter at Luke Easterling. Make sure you check out the podcast, BPA, best podcast available every Wednesday. Yeah, I think that's about it, man.
That's a great name. And for those of you who are watching this on our website after the fact, loosecannonslive.com, you can just click on the cool little picture of Luke Easterling underneath the video, and you can see all his cool stuff and all of his bio and where you can follow him and all the amazing things he does. Yeah. And you can also do that with Stank. Stank's got a website on there for all of his.
I got a live webcam. You click on mine, and it just takes you.
I was going to say, if anybody's clicking on his website, you got to be careful.
Yeah, you don't know what to see.
Don't do it at work. Don't do it at work.
Reminder to check out the new website, loosecannonslive.com. All of our episodes live there in both audio and video format, as well as iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. So make sure you guys check that out. And of course, our brand new free Bucs Discord, where you can come in there, hang out with a bunch of, degenerates like ourselves, mock draft nonsense. I already saw some 2026 mock drafts this morning, and I closed Discord. I said, this is insanity. We just finished this. I don't want to talk about I want to hear the word draft for another 3 years. At this point. But no, check out that. It's easy, loosecannonslive.com/join. He's got all the links in there. Shout out to Izzy, who's behind the glass tonight doing a good job. And of course, Loose Cannons, Vixen, who's in the chat taking care of all the people and all the links.
Vixen,
and all
who did all
stuff.
18 hours with us. Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah. Izzy actually, kind of bitched out at some point.
He did.
Talking about a
technical difficulties on my end.
A computer update, Luke. You ever heard of this? A computer update that took 24 hours. Yeah. I don't know how to close the window. Guy, it's making me update my computer just out of nowhere. Okay. Luke knows what I'm talking about here. Luke, hey man, listen, go enjoy the fucking Lightning game. I got the lights behind me. We're about to turn them on blue and white. We're watching the Lightning after this. Go Lightning. Fuck the Panthers. Okay. Fuck the Panthers twice, actually.
Always.
Okay?
Hell yeah.
Fuck the Saints, who got an absolute F and a joke of a draft, by the way. Luke, quick. Saints, great. Go. Draft grade.
Here's the problem. I had to give them a passing grade. I think I gave them like a C or something because they stole two of my favorite players on day 3, and I'm so pissed. They stole Quincy Riley. They stole Devin Neal. I'm so angry about it. And then the Falcons stole Xavier Watts in the 3rd round, which pissed me off.
Yeah,
I hate when my favorite prospects go to those teams. It makes me very, very sad. But it's okay because the Saints also took Tyler Shuck in the top 40. So that's
which was hilarious.
Absolutely glorious. Love that.
Luke,
no offense to Tyler Shuck, but that was not a great idea.
Next time you're on the show, you got to bring your wand out. All the ladies in the chat want to see your wand on the next episode that you're on here.
I mean, I have a couple, so we'll have to, have to figure
hey,
that out.
we talked a lot about hot little slots, and I'm excited about. I can't wait to see those hot little sluts out in the August sun.
Okay? Slots?
Yeah,
slots.
Hot little slots out in that August sun come training camp. Did I say sluts?
You did.
Yes, you did.
You did.
Oh, I'm excited. Hey, I'm excited about those in August as well, baby.
You're excited, bro.
I'm very excited. Hey, go Bucs.
Oh, Lord. Go Bucs.
It's kickoff, set it off. Go to Vegas, bet it all. Put it on the Bucs win, whoever they gon' play gon' fall. Don't say I ain't told y'all. Loose cannons gon' fold y'all. Yeah, the Heat be 9-3, but it gets real cold in the fall. That's when the season start. Bucs come in 40 hard. Win after win, ripping the division apart.